How's everybody going? I wanted to say hello and thank you, first of all, for even taking the time to look at this proposal, this submission. One of the first things I wanted to talk about was the category. I believe my talk and what I want to talk about fits best under the awakening. As I look back and on my experiences, awake always kind of was falling under this definition of dramatic, earth-changing, kind of very robust, large happening. And because it was defined that way for me in my mind, I never felt that I had an awakening moment. But the reality is, and I'll use an analogy here, is that my awakening was much more subtle, progressive, slow-paced. Many people account for awakening as jumping off a cliff into the water and learning to swim. That kind of big splash, that big moment. My analogy is much more walking off the beach, wading into the water, taking a look around, enjoying the water. Either way, you get into the water. So my talk is about anger, and I feel like it falls under that category of awake because I came to this talk slowly. My background, really quickly, is very, very varied. Very, very varied. Yet it's also very connected. What connects everything that I do between being an artist, a speaker, a consultant, a personal coach, and an educator is that I connect the why. Why are things happening so as to get better understanding and insight? So getting back to my topic, anger as a way of identifying what we value. So the talk would be about, well, why if you want to really live and be in the moment, then we should not ignore at any time the anger that we feel. And yet, all our lives we've been told, don't get angry. The reality is that we should live between those seconds and the moment. Some of those moments are angry moments. This is how you experience life. It's the only real time we have is in the moment. And sure, each moment is fleeting, but it is in that short amount of time that the intensity and the awareness are there. So out of the many emotions that we feel in the moment, anger is the one we're taught to avoid. Don't get angry. But it's the message that can cause so much damage. And really, don't get angry. How do you do that? Sure, we can practice meditation. Sure, we can do a lot of breathing exercises, but there's going to be a trigger we all have. And the trigger event and the time it takes between the event and how angry we get is as little as a quarter of a second. That quick of a response. So instead of not getting angry, what I've learned and what I teach and what I educate, and not trying to repress the anger, is to recognize it and allow it to point the way to what we value. So I guess I'm telling you that the talk would be about this idea of anger as a way to identify what is at core in our heart, what we value. Use anger as a guidepost, as a trigger for analytical thinking, but don't avoid it. If I look at anger, I control my response. For better or worse, how we think, feel, and live affects our heart, including anger. And to me, it is out of our heart that true emotion, and even more so true communication, comes in its purest form. So if our intent in this life is to understand and guide ourselves by what we value and make sure that it's in its purest form, then let's allow anger to be a constructive tool to get us down that path. Thanks a lot. Mike Watson. Bye.